He drove a 50-year-old snowcat through Alaska's eastern interior in temperatures that hit -41, hauled 3,000 pounds of supplies across mountain passes in a single winter run, and built a working fish wheel for an entire village on the Copper River. All of it on camera, almost none of it talked about. His name is Dennis Westerlind. He is the co-creator of Holdfast Alaska, one of the fastest-growing homesteading channels on YouTube, and the reason the channel works the way it does has almost nothing to do with what most viewers assume. By the end of this, you will know who Dennis actually is, where he came from, what he does every single day that never gets credited in the headline, and why this channel's current chapter, the one unfolding right now in 2026, is the most ambitious thing the Westerlands have ever attempted. Holdfast Alaska looks like a homesteading channel. On the surface it is. 2 people, a daughter named Lena, a cabin in the Alaskan wilderness, and a camera pointed at whatever needs doing that day. The channel launched on February 7, 2021. By July 2026, it had crossed 246,000 subscribers and pulled in more than 37 million total views. Those are not numbers that happen by accident. They also are not the numbers of a channel that is struggling, disappearing, or falling apart, which is what a lot of the commentary around Holdfast Alaska assumes. The Westerlands are not slowing down. The channel is publishing consistently. The view counts on individual videos are climbing into the hundreds of thousands, and recent uploads in mid-2026 are hitting view counts that channels 10 times their size would envy. But here is the thing about how Holdfast Alaska is covered online. Almost every video about this channel centers on Amy, her journey from suburbs to wilderness, her foraging, her sourdough, her food preservation methods. Amy is the person most casual viewers picture when they hear the channel's name. Dennis is the other half of this story. He always has been. And the part that changes everything about what you just heard is where he came from before any of this existed. Dennis Westerlind did not grow up in Alaska. He did not grow up hunting or trapping or building anything. He came from suburban New England, the same background as Amy, the same world of paved roads and predictable schedules and supermarkets. The channel's own video from December 2024, titled From Suburbia to Remote Alaska, tells the core of the story in their own words. 2 people from the suburbs. A decision to leave everything familiar, not once, but effectively 3 times. Each move further from what they had known and further into the life they were trying to build. What is not often discussed is what Dennis specifically left behind and what that actually required of him. Suburban life does not prepare anyone for what the Westerlands are doing. You do not learn to run trap lines in eastern Massachusetts. You do not learn to repair a decades-old snowcat in a parking lot somewhere outside Boston. You do not learn to read a river for fish wheel placement in a place where the nearest neighbor might be miles away. Everything Dennis does on that homestead, and the list is extensive, he had to learn from scratch, on the land, in conditions that do not leave much room for beginners' mistakes. The channel bio states they have been homesteading for more than 12 years. That clock started before Holdfast Alaska existed, before the cameras, before any of the views or the subscribers or the comment sections full of people asking how they did it. The real answer is, slowly, and with a lot of failure that never made it into a video. And that's when the decision was made, the one nobody around them saw coming. Most homesteading channels find a location and stay there. They document the seasons, they build community, they go deeper into the same patch of land year after year. The Westerlinds did something different. They had already been homesteading on the Kenai Peninsula, one of Alaska's more accessible regions, with road connections and a population base and infrastructure that makes remote living considerably more manageable. That was not enough. At some point, and the channel does not spell this out in a single defining video, Dennis and Amy made the decision to move from the Kenai Peninsula to the eastern interior of Alaska, specifically to an area near Slana, in the Copper River Basin, a region that is dramatically more remote, dramatically more demanding, and dramatically less forgiving than where they had been. The mailing address they publish is P.O. Box 906, Slana, AK 99586. Slana is a community with a population measured in dozens, not thousands. It sits near the edge of Wrangell-St. Elias National Park, the largest national park in the United States, a place that makes even experienced outdoors people recalibrate their expectations. Road access to their property is not guaranteed year-round. In winter, the snowmobile becomes the primary way in or out. The temperatures regularly drop to -40 and below. One video from early 2026 is simply titled "Wood Stove Failed at -40, and that is not a metaphor, that is a Tuesday. What happened next is the reason this story matters more than most people who followed this channel realize. There is a tendency in commentary about co-creator channels to assign roles based on what the camera captures most clearly. Amy is the face of the food side of Holdfast Alaska. The sourdough video from April 2025, the one made with a 100-year-old method, crossed 1 million views. Her foraging videos, her food preservation content, her cooking over the fire, these are the videos that drive the biggest numbers. Dennis is doing something else. He is keeping the entire operation physically functional. Look at the actual video catalog, and a pattern becomes clear. Dennis brought home and installed a World War II-era propane stove that became one of the channel's most viewed videos, pulling over 640,000 views. He sourced and adapted a 50-year-old snowcat to reach their cabin during winter, a video that crossed 587,000 views. He built a greenhouse using salvaged materials for roughly $200. He rebuilt the roof of an old barn that was falling apart when they bought the property. He fabricated a snowplow attachment from scratch when the road to the cabin closed. He laid the floor joists and foundation for a new cabin build that is still ongoing. He also runs the trap lines, checks beaver traps in the pre-dawn, night spear fishes for whitefish under headlamps, hunts for moose across multiple days every fall, with footage from the 2025 Moose Camp episodes crossing more than 1 million views combined. None of this is incidental. A homestead without these functions does not survive an Alaskan winter. The camera catches the results. Dennis is usually the person who made those results possible. Here's what the comments kept asking, and here is the answer they never quite got until now. The single project that best captures what Dennis brings to Holdfast Alaska happened in the summer of 2026, and it is the kind of thing that does not fit neatly into a homesteading content category. Dennis helped design, build, and launch a community fish wheel on the Copper River. A fish wheel is not a small undertaking. It is a rotating mechanical structure placed in a river current that continuously scoops fish from the water. The Westerlinds had built and run their own fish wheel previously. The August 2025 launch video crossed just under 1 million views on its own. But the 2026 project was different in scale and in purpose. This was not just for the Westerland family. The video from June 27, 2026, building and launching a fish wheel on Alaska's Copper River, reached 1.38 million views and is currently one of the most watched videos the channel has ever published. A follow-up video from July 18th, documenting the launch of the community wheel with neighbors helping, added another 200,000 views within days. What the video descriptions make clear is that this fish wheel was built to help fill freezers across the community. Families signed up to use it. Dennis and Amy dropped off salmon samples to the Atna Intertribal Resource Commission, the indigenous resource management body for the Copper River region. The Westerlands were not just homesteading for themselves, they were embedding into the fabric of the community around them. That is a different story than most commentary on Holdfast Alaska tells. And if you think that was surprising, stay with me, because this next part is why the whole story matters. Holdfast Alaska was not supposed to be a breakout channel. When it launched in February 2021, homesteading content had already been through several waves of popularity. The market was crowded. Off-grid channels, Alaska survival channels, self-reliance content, all of it had been around for years. Many of those channels built on personalities that were bigger, louder, and more YouTube-optimized than anything the Westerlands were doing. Dennis and Amy were not trying to be YouTube personalities. They were documenting a life they were already committed to living, whether a camera was running or not. The growth that followed was not instant. The channel accumulated its audience over time, video by video, with a consistency and a production approach that prioritized showing the actual work over manufacturing drama. The comment sections on Holdfast Alaska are notable for something you rarely see on channels this size: extended, specific, thoughtful engagement. Viewers asking about the fish wheel construction. Viewers identifying the plants Amy is foraging. Viewers who clearly know a lot about what the Westerlands are doing and respect the specifics. By mid-2026, individual videos were crossing 1 million views. A video about processing 103 salmon hit 1.19 million. The Moose Hunting Camp series from fall 2025 crossed comparable numbers. The fish wheel launch video in June 2026 reached 1.38 million. A channel at 246,000 subscribers, generating single video view counts in the millions, is doing something right. And the specific mechanics of how they are doing it, the consistent upload pace, the seasonal storytelling, the combination of Dennis's practical builds and Amy's preservation and foraging content, That structure did not happen by accident. Most people who know this story stop here, but the real story starts right now. As of July 2026, Holdfast Alaska is not in transition. It is not in decline. Dennis Westerlind has not left, stepped back, or changed direction. What the channel is doing right now is arguably the most ambitious phase of its existence. The cabin build is ongoing. New floor joists, foundation work, structural expansion. The Westerlinds are not renting or maintaining a pre-built homestead. They are constructing one. Dennis is doing most of the heavy structural work on camera, with a consistency that turns what could be a tedious subject into something that viewers are returning to week after week. The pack string, their horses, is growing. Multiple videos in early and mid-2026 document the acquisition and training of horses for backcountry packing, a development that signals the Westerlands are thinking about accessing terrain that no vehicle can reach. That changes what is possible on a subsistence homestead and changes what the channel can document going forward. The community engagement deepened. The Fish Wheel Project, the coordination with the Atna Intertribal Resource Commission, the neighbors arriving to help with the launch. The Westerlands are becoming part of the Copper River Basin community in ways that a transient homesteader never would. And the generator is running. A video from January 2026 about powering the homestead with a repurposed cell tower generator crossed 324,000 views. Electricity is coming to the Westerland property, not from the grid, but built piece by piece, sourced from unexpected places, the way everything on that homestead gets built. Dennis Westerlind is not a story of departure or disappearance. He is a story of someone who made a decision most people talk about, and almost nobody actually makes. And then, over 12 years and counting, built the proof of concept for it, out of salvaged parts, hard winters, and an almost stubborn refusal to stop. The thing that makes Dennis Westerlind worth understanding is not any single dramatic moment. It is the accumulation, 12 years of decisions, each one harder than the last, each one moving further from the life he started with and further into the one he was building. He is currently somewhere in the Copper River Basin, working on a cabin that is not finished, managing animals that require daily care, preparing for an Alaskan fall that will arrive earlier and hit harder than any season someone from suburban New England could have imagined at the start of all this. The channel is active, growing, and publishing some of its strongest content to date. So here is the question worth sitting with. Dennis walked away from a predictable suburban life, moved to one of the most remote places on the continent, and is building something by hand that most people only ever plan in their head. Was that the right call? Or is this the kind of life that only looks good from a distance?